with the...
Okay, I'm ready. Thank you.
So, David, why are we coming back to Pulse now?
Well, we're coming back to Pulse right now because it's been out on video for a while, as we all know, but it's time for it to come out on DVD. In fact, it's been time for it to come out on DVD for ages now, but we've finally got there, overcoming all sorts of obstacles, technical mostly. And now here it is. It was shot originally on regular video, and it didn't look like it was going to blow up too well, so it's been through various processes to try and make the video sufficiently much better than it was then, to make it justify coming out on a DVD. And it's been mixed in 5.1 sound by James Guthrie in Lake Tahoe somewhere, and with me listening to the mixes every week on CD and making copious notes and sending them back for. So it's a very long-winded process of doing the mixing, because everything has to be flying back and forth across the Atlantic constantly before decisions get made.
There's a hint of Elton John and Bernie Taupin into that relationship, isn't there?
There's something like that, yes. Which one's Elton and which one's...
Can I be paid? I put the bottle on the floor just because I can hear you. Thank you very much.
Now, could you explain to us what is actually on this new package?
There is the film of the concert, of course, which is filmed at Earl's Court in 1994. Is an entire performance of The Dark Side of the Moon that we did on that occasion. Also with it, on a separate menu, there are all the films that we project onto the circular screen on stage. We have those on a separate menu so people can go and look at them and look at those films on their own. There's a sort of, not what you call a backstage documentary, but there's a sort of a fun documentary made out of with home videos. It's not professionally shot, it's just done on little regular cheap handy cams, you know, and edited together to give a little bit of a flavour of what goes on the tour. There's something we call Bootlegging the Bootleggers, which is 3 or 4 songs recorded live, where our security people are constantly on the lookout for those little red dots out in the audience where people are filming. And because we're mean, nasty bastards, our security guys go and remove their tapes from their cameras. And so we wound up with quite a few bootleg tapes, and we have taken some songs that are not in the regular concert, and we know which night they come from, and we have very carefully synchronized a mixing desk tape with the sound from the camera, so we get a bit of the rather pristine, clear sound from the desk, and added some regular audience noise from the camera.
Does that mean that? Oh.
No, and we have often got 2 or 3 tapes from different people on the same occasion, so we can actually cut to different shots. So we have those songs as a little extra.
So that means, in effect, that you've given an amnesty to these people.
Have we? Well, I don't know if we've given an amnesty to these people, but...
Now, this was quite a momentous tour. It was Pink Floyd's last tour, as we know.
Yeah.
Now, what are your abiding memories of the tour overall? Was the atmosphere very happy? Presumably, it wasn't sort of the bacchanalian days of yore.
It was a really good tour. Not long in the grand scheme of things. I mean, in '87 we did a much longer tour, but this was long enough. So 6-7 months of hard touring all over the world. But it had a really good atmosphere. We all got on very well, and it's really good.
And what contributed to that atmosphere? How did it come about? Clearly, we're not going to go down the Roger route, I'd imagine, but because Roger wasn't there, then did that help the 3 of you to unite? Were you very, was Pink Floyd very united at this point?
We were very united at this point. We had been very united during the Momentary Lapse of Reason tour, 87 onwards. I mean, it's a different whole thing being in Pink Floyd, touring with Pink Floyd in what we should call the post-Roger years. It's in many ways more united and more enjoyable to do that sort of thing, and this tour was like that.
Did you feel that you were sort of conquering army, going into various towns, taking them over for a long period, and then going out again? It must feel quite remarkable being in the centre of that particular bubble.
It's a pretty strange life to lead, going out on tour and as you say, turning up in strange towns and taking them over for a few days and then wandering off somewhere else.
And 14 nights at Earl's Court. That's a staggering achievement in itself. Did it surprise you that you still had the clout to do that? And how did you feel about playing all those nights then?
14 nights sold out at Earl's Court is a pretty big thing. I had no idea that we would be able to sell quite that many nights out. But having played mostly vast outdoor places on this tour all over the world, where 50, 60, 70,000 people are gathered in an enormous stadium or a field or something, Earl's Court after that seems like a cosy little club, and you have much more control over the sound and much more control over all the images and the whole environment that you use. So it was very nice to come back to what's our hometown and do all those nights that way.
Were you surprised that Pink Floyd could still do that?
I can't remember really. I can't remember how surprised I was at the time. It seems pretty extraordinary to me now, thinking back that 14 nights of however many 15, 16, 17,000 people in that place.
Dark Side of the Moon. Then it's the only film of Dark Side of the Moon.
Yes.
Now, what were your reasonings behind doing it as a piece?
Well, we were enjoying playing the tour, playing a sort of a greatest hits package, and at some point the suggestion came up that as we were already playing 3 or 4 songs from Dark Side of the Moon, that we should send people off back in England to dig out all the bits of film and tape while we rehearsed up the other few songs and see how it would work. So we started doing rehearsals at sound checks in the afternoons of other shows of the various songs from Dark Side, and it started feeling like it was getting pretty good. And at some point in America, I can't remember which city we were in, we had finally gathered together all the bits of film, quadraphonic tapes, and finally had it all rehearsed. And it was just a night where we said, shall we launch into it? And we did, and the audience were pretty surprised. We hadn't announced it or anything, and it really did have a magical feeling to it, to us, which I was quite surprised at, I have to say. Yeah. And so we did it a few more times on that tour and started throwing it in about one night in 3 from then on.
And did you yourself feel comfortable with those songs? Did you feel comfortable doing them?
Yes, absolutely felt comfortable doing them. Why do you ask?
Well, partially because obviously in the actual video you very generously give Roger a tribute for writing the songs, and people, I think there's an assumption that you may be uncomfortable singing Roger's songs.
Well, there's 2 or 3, there's 3 songs of Roger's that are exclusively Roger songs on that record, I think, and there are 2 songs that he sang originally. So I've never felt remotely uncomfortable singing the songs that I sang in the first place. And of course the a lot of the music was written by the rest of us. So it was I think that it was correct to give him his due credit for writing the words, but it's a Pink Floyd record, and we all felt pretty comfortable with doing it.
And your voice as well. It's an incredibly it's a raspy voice as well on this particular thing. Were you finding your fate as being the chief lead singer?
I was always the chief singer. Roger never was the singer. I mean, I don't know where people get this idea from. I sang virtually everything on virtually all those albums. It is. You know, Roger only sang 2 songs on Dark Side of the Moon.
I'm just concerned about the time. Can we just concentrate on the TV? Questions about how they put together.
Okay. So tell us more about the remixing of it. I mean, how, in more detail, how does it work? Did you give the actual stuff to James Guthrie and say, you do it?
Well, basically, we gave the stuff to James Guthrie, and he has a studio in Lake Tahoe, in the States, and he mixes the sound to the way that he feels comfortable with it, and then he sends it to me, and I have to have a very similar setup in my studio at home with a 5.1 sound system, and I have to listen to it, 2 or 3 times, make notes, email him with my notes, and then wait till I get another CD a week or 2 later with the changes on, and then go through the whole process again. And that process of going backwards and forth went on for months. Yeah.
And what about the DVD? The DVD edit. What difference has that made to the actual film?
The film is pretty much the same film, but I was very concerned about the quality, and with the amount of people these days having big screens, these big plasma screens and stuff like that, the old regular video that was shot before high definition was available, and was shot for reasons of not ruining the concert on the night by putting too much extra lighting in. It made using film a very difficult option, so we decided to go for video at the time. Possibly a mistake in hindsight, but anyway, I mean, a mistake in terms of we could have got a better result for video and for DVD purposes if we'd shot on film, but it would have made the concert on the night less good because we'd have had to use much more lighting than we were used to using. And I did go to what's it called, the IMAX cinema, and saw a film that had recently been released on the regular cinema that had been blown up for IMAX, and read something about it that they have a computerized system where they can take every frame and digitize it and blow it up, and increase its quality to the extent that from a 35mm little frame like that, they can blow it up to a frame like that. And I wondered if IMAX or anyone else had got a digitizing system which could take that old video footage and enhance it sufficiently so that it could really be blown up, i.e. sort of chrome out the lines and those sort of things. And there are various processes that have been invented over the past few years, and we have used some of those things on it to try and make it better. It's still in 4.3, it's still not in 16.9, which some people would have liked, but we've done absolutely everything that we have found that we are able to do to it to try and make it as good quality as we can possibly make it.
And the 5.1 mix, because obviously there's previous Pink Floyd stuff that has been done in 5.1 mix.
Yeah.
What do you feel it adds to Pulse?
Well, it makes it much more like being...
Start with the 5.1 mix, please.
Oh yeah, sorry. The 5.1 mix makes you feel like you're in a concert hall. You've got, particularly for us, because we use quadraphonic sound effects and things, and they go right round the room. And in stereo, obviously, you don't get any of that. So we are able to have the audience noise, but also the quadraphonic sound that, which, as I say, makes it much more like the real concert experience that we have been used to doing. And I guess we are about the only people around that use that sort of quadraphonic sound system. And so it is more valid and useful for us to try and recreate that on DVD than for most people.
And the actual packaging, because obviously the original packaging to Pulse was fantastic. The little blinking light. How is this going to be packaged?
Slightly different packaging, but very glamorously done by Storm. I haven't even looked at the packaging most of it myself. Just those two great big balls. I haven't looked at the rest of it yet.
So, well, tell us about the cover and what Storm's done, because he's done new work on it, hasn't he?
Yeah, but I don't really know what it is. I mean, apart from this lovely picture with two big balls on it. Two balls on the cover. Dear, oh dear. I'm sure Nick or someone will know much more about it. I've been so busy that.
What do you think that Pulse says about Pink Floyd? Is it very much a record of a happy time?
Pulse captures that moment of 1994, where we had recovered from Roger disappearing off into his own vapour. Yes, it was a moment of great joy, great togetherness. It's a lasting record of us in our sort of prime. And
had you any notion that you wouldn't play again for another decade or so?
I suppose I felt at the end of that tour that that was about enough for me of that whole thing for the time being, and I've been much too busy, getting remarried, having children, and writing material for my solo work to even think about where we'll go to next with Pink Floyd, if anything.
And these are very much for the American market, so ignore the sort of slight U-turn. Now, as we know, Pink Floyd have had this fantastic effect on American pop culture, which is maintained throughout the decades. Why have Pink Floyd made such a connection with the American audience when other British bands have struggled to do so?
I have no idea, really. I mean, we do a very big, grand show as Pink Floyd. We always have done. We've always worked a lot in America. I mean, we have spent years over there, and I can entirely see why people would love to come to see our shows. They get very good value for money.
And that American.
I don't know that there's more. I mean, I wouldn't agree with you that there's more of an American connection than anywhere else. Okay. I mean, please buy it, you Americans. It's great, but it's pretty much the same all over.
Okay.
Any sort of personal anecdotes about what it seems to David when he watches the concert back now, what he feels about it when he sees it?
Okay. So when you play the concert back to yourself now, what do you see?
I marvel at how good it all was, how tight it was, how well I was singing and playing. It's a really good, exciting concert. I mean, what more can I say? without blowing my own trumpet.
Don't blow away. Blow.
No, I really enjoyed that tour. I really enjoyed those concerts, and I think it's a very good, fitting sort of thing to leave behind for people to see.
And do you have a kind of abiding memory, or is there anything that particularly sticks out from that tour for you?
Well, the concerts in Earl's Court were the highlight of it for me, because of it being in a more controlled environment in our hometown, and being able to put on a show exactly how we wanted to put it on, which is very, very difficult in some of the windswept outdoor sort of environments that we tended to have to be in.
And the new material, what you played, did you imagine that the new things that you were playing would go down so well, and it would be work so well in a live environment? I think I always thought that a lot of the new material would work very well. I think that we have within the new material, I mean, obviously, it'll go in a second. Still rolling.
Where was I?
Pardon?
No. I think that
we're talking about the new songs and and how well they went down. But it's good to obviously to mention the title.
Some of the new songs. Some of the new songs went down extremely well. I think obviously every record that one makes, you look back to the early years, there are one or two great classic songs on each album. Dark Side of the Moon, maybe more, maybe 3 or 4. But some of the songs that we wrote on the Turning Away, on the Momentary Lapse of Reason, Sorrow, on that album, High Hopes, particularly on the Division Bell, and Keep Talking, have become, for me, Pink Floyd classics, and from the letters and stuff we get in, that seems to be a view shared by a lot of the audience. So, and when I now hear something like High Hopes come on, it does sound like one of our great classic songs. So they did go down extremely well in those concerts.
And when the original Pulse came out, then were you very pleased with it? And what? And do you think it's sort of aged as well?
I'm extremely pleased with it when it first came out. Brilliantly filmed by David Mallet, and now sort of enhanced and re-edited a bit with the benefit of being able to look back on these things and make better and analytical corrections from what it was all those years ago. It's now re-edited, enhanced visually, enhanced sonically, in every way. It's much better than it ever could be on that poor limited old VHS medium. And
what do you hope from it? Are you looking to introduce Pink Floyd to a younger audience, perhaps?
There is always. It's one of the great things about Pink Floyd is that we do seem to be introduced by, I don't know who, older generations of kids to their younger generations, their younger siblings, or by parents to their children. We constantly seem to have a young audience that comes along. It's been very good for us.
And how does the new Pulse fit into the Floyd canon? Where does it go? What does it say about Pink Floyd?
Well, I just think the same thing. It's that Pulse will show people forever how great we were at doing what we did and how good a lot of the stuff was that we did. it'll be there for posterity to show us at our sort of in our prime doing what we did very well.
Okay. Is there anything you need? No.
Yes, a couple of small things. Could we have David actually saying that it is the only film recording of Dark Side of the Moon to me? Because I think that's a very special thing about the DVD.
Yeah.
Would you mind just
Yeah.
telling us that?
Yeah. And it is, of course, the only ever live video recording of a performance of Dark Side of the Moon, which is not exactly, but very similar to the way we used to do it in the 70s. Obviously, there's a couple of songs that Roger sang that I had to sing on this one, but it's pretty much exactly the way we would have done it all those years ago, and stands as a record of that.
Which makes it quite an incentive for Floyd fans, both hardcore and your new people.
Yeah, indeed it does.
And
And the only other thing I thought of was it just about this technology side of it? Was it a strange mix of the past and the present for you working on this in terms of the actual sort of technology side of it? Does that make sense?
Well, I don't know much about all the technological side. I just sort of make requests for people to investigate the new technologies so that it can be applied to this and used. But I don't have enough information on who did what and exactly how it was done to be able to illuminate very much on that.
Oh, that's fine. No, don't worry. I just thought it might be interesting. Was there anything else that you wanted to add about the DVD?
Not that I can think of. Have I missed any important?
We've talked about the remix of the sound. We've talked about the re-edit of the pictures and all the effects.
And the documentary and the bootlegging the bootleggers. Yeah, I don't think there's anything else of any. Got rid of some other bloody stupid Talking Heads documentary that boring people saying how many trucks it took to take in.
Yeah.
Threw that one out.
No, I'm happy with that. Is there anything else that you wanted to go more to the American side? Now we've got 5 minutes.
Well, it's
As I'm struggling to say anything positive about America and the differences there.
I mean, if you want to talk about the Americans, then maybe you can. I know you can't really explain your connection with the Americans, and I understand about it being the same as it is elsewhere. But perhaps when you were touring in America at this point, you were playing the small outdoor stadiums, weren't you, at that time?
Rather big outdoor stadiums.
Yeah. And if you could just explain a bit about that tour's American leg.
Well,
sort of the places you played, the size of the venues, and how great it.
Well, yes, we set off. We started the tour in America, in fact, and played a number of very large places all over the States, big stadiums. A great time was had by all. We rehearsed up and started playing Dark Side of the Moon in the States. I can't remember where it was. It might have been Chicago. But I can't remember exactly where the first performance was of that. But that added a whole new level of enjoyment for us when we were playing all those concerts stateside. Is that enough?
Okay, that's everything I had to ask. Are you happy with everything, David?
Yeah.
Nothing else you want to say? No, I just want to get it.
No.
No? Okay, thank you very much.
Take a couple of things. I was thinking on that take a breath. Do you
Yeah.
fancy moving it forward so that it goes take a breath, so it comes in on the last beat of it, rather than?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Do
sure.
we try doing that?
Yeah.
And the other thing is, it'd be interesting to hear the room mic, but if we delayed the room mic like about 5 milliseconds or something, and see how that sounds
On the solo.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Vocal sounded good. The word sure was the only word I wasn't sure about.
Okay. That's what we should take.
Maybe least on the same line.
Was it?
There was something I wasn't. I can't even remember when it was
Let's have a
a
look.
sync or a pitch. I can't remember. But yeah, same
I wasn't
same
sure,
line.
Sure one spelling about sure the other spelling.
Check the shore. And the other spelling.
Don't make it right.
The cheap mics.
Over the gate.
This is the take a breath, yeah?
Faders.
Unless you.
Maybe. Don't know. It might sound like it's a little bit too,
too pretentious,
Slick. Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. Yeah. Put it back where it was.
Yeah,
Anyway,
put it back.
But we should at some point all go out there and try that.
Take a breath.
Yeah.
Okay.
In one or two different formats.
Yes.
Maybe it should just be sort of
Right, let's go back to the
sort of
third
slightly
stanza.
whispery.
Right.
So, yes. Yeah. Put that back where it was.
Yeah, put that back.
Yeah. Sort out the guitar with the room as well.
Yeah.
You were saying that you're considering meltdown as a bonus.
This is one of the things for consideration, just the audio.
Well,
audio.
still, yeah. I just run it with the extras on it over length, but not wildly.
Mm.
So, and the main show certainly will fit time-wise
Yeah.
without a song too long. But maybe timing will be mixes with the way basically what both numbers are.
Yeah.
Just about, full length.
Yeah. Some thoughts?
Yeah, it would bring it to a lot of people that haven't heard it otherwise.
Yeah. I think it's a great idea, really.
What's
In
that?
terms of those, especially possibility of the audio, isn't it?
Of concert.
Yeah. Yeah.
Putting that in as a free audio bonus CD.
Oh yeah.
Because you can't put it in.
I didn't think it was sufficiently good on the night, and the recording and my performance wasn't of a quite high enough standard to sort of put it out as a CD at the time.
Yeah.
All right, good with the visuals.
Yeah.
A bit of repair had to go on, and it's not. But I thought now, giving it a bit of time, it wouldn't be a bad thing to put out as a free or something.
Punter would be very happy. Because that's the thing, you can't put the DVD in your car. I didn't realise you can't just hear the sound. That's the only way you can.
Last line of the first stanza.
Just sure.
At least I showed you how to swim for sure.
Solo it or something?
At least I showed you how to swim for sure.
This dropping thing on the beginning.
Yeah, it did a well.
Let's clean that.
Well spotted.
I just noticed something. I wasn't quite sure what it was. It sounded odd.
sure. For sure. For sure. At least I showed you how to swim for sure.
Bit better.
Do we hear the least as well, alone? Just
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, no.
At least I showed you how to swim. At least I showed you how to.
There's a slight T somewhere in there.
Leave the 3 soloed and play the shore. Play the whole line.
At least I showed you how to swim for sure.
There's a T hanging off on least. Let's just hear it.
At least I showed you.
And again. Play.
At least I showed you how
And
to.
again.
At least I showed you how to.
I think it's the one on 5. Play it again. Just keep going around at least.
At least I showed you. At least I showed you. At least I showed you how. At least I showed you how to. At least I showed you. At least I showed you. At least I showed you how to. At least I showed you how to swim for sure.
Okay. So we mix this down to one track now then? So that compressor's active, isn't it?
Yeah, and obviously exactly as you are. Without the harmony, I assume.
Hey?
Without the harmony, yeah.
Just that low.
Those.
Yeah. Just down to
Yeah.
mono.
Yes. Very phonic.
There's no EQ or anything, is there?
That you've got that.
What's that in?
It's a bit of 2 and a bit on the
Okay,
last
yeah.
one. That's where we were on the other one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And the compressor.
and the
as well.
compressor, yeah.
Right.
Apart from that, exactly as is. Where would you like it? There we go.
And you want to monitor it for 3?
Yeah, fine.
Close.
I ain't got to take those out. Yeah, better too. I can't really see.
Yeah.
Marvellous. Yes. Okay, let's just check they're all getting to it. And it might be a bit low level overall, so whatever.
So what do you want to do? Do you want to do the take of breaths next, or do you want to move on to Ireland?
No, not directly, no. Okay, so just send me a bit of input on it.
If we all just go down there 5 minutes, just knock out a quick chanting sort of thing.
Yeah.
How did you f yourself when you drive? Oh, there's nothing else. And if you're lost, you'll need to turn yourself. And you'll find out that there's no one else to make.
Sensible. Let's just do it solo while we do it, just to.
When you're down is where you find yourself. When you drown, there's nothing else. And if you're lost, you'll need to turn yourself. Then you'll find out that there's no one else to make the moves that you can do. When you fall from grace, your eyes in blue. Your every breath becomes another world, and the far horizon's living hell.
Too many Z's on the end of horizons. Is that right?
I didn't notice.
This kind of love is hard to find. I never got to you by being kind. If I'm the one to throw you overboard, at least I showed you how to swim for sure. When you're down is where you'll know yourself. That if you drown, there's nothing else. And when you're lost, you'll need to find yourself. Then you'll find out that there's no one else.
Let's play us Horizons again.